So 2015, the first cloud kitchen, 2016, the second one, 17 takeaway stores were raw and upcoming, and we converted both of our takeaway stores into cloud kitchens. 18, graduated from college, decided to scale up in this space. 19, we were running 4 cloud kitchens across Delhi and NCR. No, I think there was no arrogance. Early on when you're building, there's no arrogance. Arrogance only builds up when you start getting external validation. Either it's from customers or from investors or from stakeholders or from vendors. When you start getting a lot of validation, that's when arrogance, and you stop swallowing ego, right? When I started my first dark store, it was empty for the first 2 months because you have to first start the dark store and then sell it to the brand. You can't start the dark store and then, or sell it to the brand and then say, okay, you want a dark store here, we'll give you a dark store here. You need to have ready infrastructure before selling infrastructure.
Madhav told me yesterday that, one of your speakers, who's Bharat, has invested in his firm. So that was a revelation
just
for...
this month. It's not a recent phenomenon, just this month.
That too, just this month. So that is something that we did not cook up. So I'm just being honest to you guys. And we are going to know a little bit about you, Madhav, right now.
Absolutely.
Now you are a funded startup. There was a time, when none of this was there, right? And that's where the journey begins. And that's what we are going to discuss in today's conversation. So tell me a little bit about you, Madhav, as an individual, as a person, as somebody who was growing up in the streets of Delhi.
Yes, Delhi. Early years were in Hong Kong, but we got back when I was about 8 years old. And then I joined school back again. I think there was a 2-year gap. Graduated from school in 2015. Started my first venture. It was a cloud kitchen called Beijing Street in Delhi itself, right next to my neighborhood. And I got into college after I started my venture.
Wow.
So typically how the timeline works is you graduate somewhere around March, April. And then at that point in time, Delhi University didn't have entrance exams. So it was all a cutoff based system. I was very sure that I'm not going to be giving and writing any entrances. So I said, I've scored about a 95% in boards, and that's about it. And I was more interested in the brand. I mean, that's not the best approach, but I was more interested in the brand of the college than the course. So I first got into Venki, and I got some sociology at Venki. I went on to Hindu. There was a dual course called philosophy and economics. I took up that course.
So it did not matter what course it was. You just wanted a brand on your CV.
Absolutely not. My parents wanted me to do graduation. At that point, I already started a business. I had my first cloud kitchen, clocking good revenues, doubling every month. March of 2016, started my second cloud kitchen, took a plunge in GK. It was because of my parents I finished graduation. Honestly, I haven't even taken the degree. It's still at college. And my parents killed me. Go bloody take the degree first.
But tell me a little bit about, why this, why this hate for education? Hate a very...
Hate for education. I'll interject you here. In fact, it's something similar to what Bharat said, that it's not hate for education. It's just that it's not important and I tasted money early on in terms of early ventures, started my cloud kitchen in 2015. So when you taste money early on, it's fairly addictive. And that's when...
Is it good?
I mean, it comes with its fair set of merits and demerits. Merits, yes, you start on early on, you start making good money, but you don't know the trade. You don't know the playbook, right? You're still building the playbook. You're still making mistakes. Fortunately, my family supported me early on. So 2015, the first cloud kitchen, 2016, the second one, 17 takeaway stores were raw and upcoming, and we converted both of our takeaway stores into cloud kitchens. 18, graduated from college, decided to scale up in this space. 19, we were running 4 cloud kitchens across Delhi and NCR. Clocked a good revenue in FY20. Made multiple mistakes. Went on to Bombay, did a food festival, lost 20 lakhs in 2 days. Made multiple mistakes. made the most of blunders anybody can do, but learned from them.
Right.
Got back to life in 2020. COVID impacted us, shut 2 of our stores, but immediately evolved to being a dark store platform.
Right.
Inflection point was signing one of the larger ice cream brands that we have on our portfolio today. Signed them. Then we signed another brand called Kevinter's in the early 2021.
We want to know who Madhav was. Who exactly was that Madhav who tasted money at the age of 16, 17, who thought that I have something in me that I can build upon? I mean, what was that Madhav like? Was it like a very arrogant Madhav, or was it a very confident Madhav? What was it?
No, I think there was no arrogance. Early on when you're building, there's no arrogance. Arrogance only builds up when you start getting external validation. Either it's from customers or from investors or from stakeholders or from vendors. When you start getting a lot of validation, that's when arrogance, and you stop swallowing ego, right?
How did the idea come about that, you want to start something of your own at that particular age? I mean, was it driven by people, students who were doing certain things, or friends doing certain things that you thought that this is something I want to do also?
In fact, it's radically different. A lot of my friends were going to US, UK for their undergrad. And I felt I have to stay in Delhi, and I have a lot of time at hand. And Delhi University is not a taxing course. You go in the morning, 2 hours, you come back, half the days you don't go. So I said, why not start a small cloud kitchen takeout store, took up a shop on rent, told my dad I want to buy 5 pieces of equipment, fridge, deep freezer, burner, etc., etc. Invested that money, created a brand, stood there from morning to evening, hired the first chef who happened to just pass through when there was electrical work going on. So everything just fell into place, the first store. That did well. First day revenue 5,000, second day revenue 6,000, second month revenue 3 lakhs. And then when that went on to 4 lakhs, my dad said, okay, let's put out the second store.
Okay. So he was kind of, the support system who started all this, because he also figured that पढ़ाई में तो बेटा लग रहा है कि college के बाद ही drop out या फिर college में.
He's anyways doing a shitty course. So that was the impression of
why
my
would you
entire
say
family.
that? I mean, philosophy and economics seem like something interesting.
I belong to a family of engineers and MBAs.
So,
and if one of the folks there is doing a philosophy and economics, he's doing a shitty course.
But is that like a mindset that we have had, curated in the minds of people, or is it really a shitty course where you can't lead up to anything?
It's not really a shitty course. It's the mindset. It's the perception. My dad's IIT Delhi. All of my family's entire engineer MBA. They've slogged through corporates throughout their lives. And if one of the kids is doing a philosophy and economics from some Delhi University branded Hindu college, that's a shitty thing to do. So you rather do something alongside, make more value of your time.
But then why not go to, slog a little harder, get into an IIT, do an engineering course, go to IIMs, why not?
I told you early on, right? That's not my cup of tea. Since I tasted money early on, I was going to give all of those entrances and get into IIT and just do what everybody else is doing. So that though anyways was ruled out early on. So as I graduated from college, my dad starts asking me, okay, what's for masters? What's for MBA?
Right.
Any plan? You want to do something in the middle for 2 years, or you plan to go in MBA? I said, you buy the books, I'll throw them, but I'm not going for an MBA. So I bought this big law book, these law books, law entrance books. These law books are like 3,000 rupee book, 6 kgs. I bought that. Till date, that's still kept in the almirah, as new as it is.
You could have sold them. You could have made some money out of that.
Invested back into the business. So that was very clear. I think that understanding was very clear that no, he's not meant for at least a postgrad. And fortunately, life gifted me an undergrad because I only used to go for exams. 4 months of work, sit at the dark store, and then 1 month of preparation and 1 month of giving the exams.
So what was happening in the cloud kitchen? You said that by the second month, you were clocking somewhere around 3-4 lakh. So how was that happening? What was the experience that you gathered there? And cloud kitchen was something that was, booming. It was upcoming. Absolutely. Zomato was using it. Swiggy was using it. A lot of other players were also coming in that market. How did you feel that, that's something that you have built is going to be a monster in the industry? And what were you learning in that?
So we evolved. I think the merits or demerits of this entire journey was we kept evolving. If you look at our journey, early on, we started a brand called Beijing Street. We scaled that to 4 dark cloud kitchens. Zomato and Swiggy were very upcoming, and they were also upcoming as we were in 2015. Zomato was only a discovery platform. You couldn't order from Zomato at that time.
Right.
Then Zomato came with online ordering. At that point in time, we had Food Panda, Tiny Owl, and all of those other platforms. Uber Eats entered in 2017. So we had our fair share of relationships with all of these food delivery platforms. Scaled the business, 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs, went on, took up a shop in GK, right on the front Savitri Cinema Complex. Paid 75,000 rupees a rent per month for a 300 square feet shop.
This was the second shop.
Store, yeah, second store. Did a good revenue there as well. Clocked somewhere around 8-9 lakhs at peak. And then figured out that when 80-90% of the business is coming either on call or on online delivery platforms, then why am I paying a 75,000 rupee rental?
Right.
That's when we evolved to cloud kitchens. We said, okay, fine, take a space in some building on the ground floor, pay 1/3 the rental, and do 90% of the business, move 90% of the business.
Because your face does not become important
Face
there.
matter. Today we have almost 140 dark stores. None of the dark stores even have a signage.
Right. And that's why they're called dark stores.
That's the reason they're called dark stores.
So, the cloud kitchen business, when you were doing it, I'm sure a lot of other people were also doing it, right? So in that form, how did you make sure that you cut the clutter, you make sure that, you stand out in the business and you make those 9 lakh, 10 lakh rupees that you were making?
So I think there was no playbook. The essence of starting early was that there was no playbook. And I'm always known for learning in market. I've never, like what other consumer founders and ventures do is they'll make a whole product, they'll do a product market fit, they'll get it tested by other people and then go to market. I was like, I'll find a chef, he'll tell me how he makes his spring rolls and then we'll go live. So I've always learned with market. I've always learned with feedback. I've always learned with market. I've never gone to market with a ready proposition in all of my evolutions in the business.
Were you aware of these terms back then when you started?
No,
market fit, product fit, propositions? They
all
seem
of these
like
fancy startup terms are only when you start raising capital, when investors throw these terms on your face.
So is it difficult when you do that?
Not really. It's a lot of these early startups when they start raising capital. They're like, early startup founders come to us and say, how much should I raise? At what valuation? And they're not even aware of that.
I think by now people have watched Shark Tank, so they at least are aware of valuation and how much they should raise.
Yeah, that's also not the best way because all Shark Tank ventures are very undervalued as compared to the startup ecosystem and all the investors, the real investors writing good checks. Startups valued on Shark Tank are fairly undervalued.
So let's get back to your cloud kitchen in Delhi. You were 2 stores. Now you're the owner of 2 cloud kitchens that you've had. How many companies were you handling at that point in time, and how did you think that this is a scalable business that I can work towards?
At that point, it wasn't about scalability. It was about making money. Right now, if you ask me how much does a business make, it loses money. It's a startup. It's raised 3 rounds of funding, 3 rounds of capital. We burn tens of lakhs every month. So we're not meant to make money till a certain stage of the business in the life cycle. But early on, when I started my first venture, it was all about how much can I save by the 30th. And then I have to pay salaries by the 10th again. I have to pay rentals by the 5th. So it was more about a very micro vision, about a very microscopic vision of month to month, paycheck to paycheck format of operating the business. Now it's a more holistic, long-term, 2-year, 3-year, 5-year runway format.
So tell me a few stories about, coming up with the 3rd and 4th store that you came up with in the cloud kitchen, where you thought that, paise to ban rahe hain, aa hi jayenge, so let's expand it, right? So was that the motive behind that?
No, actually, I'll tell you about the larger blunder that we committed. After 2 stores, I graduated from college. At that time, I came to Bombay. I went to Bombay, in fact, and I decided to do a food festival. I've run Beijing Street for 3 years now, clocking good revenues. I know all of these Zomatos, Swiggies, Uber Eats, Food Pandas, feeling fairly connected and elevated. Sense of validation. I said, let's do a food festival. Booked a venue in Juhu.
That must have costed you a bomb.
Costed me a bomb. Started preparing the layout. Sold 40 stalls. Now imagine the blunder of till the last day I'm selling stalls. And my father kept telling me, where's the audience? Who's coming? And I registered on Book My Show 2 days before the event.
Right.
And the cops came at the venue. It was a major blunder. 40 people paid 40,000 rupees each for a stall, with 500 folks coming in and passing time and going out. So that was a major blunder. Two major learnings there: that you can't do everything by yourself. You need a team, and you need to always focus on sales and where your audience is coming from. That's the major thing we missed out. We missed out on audience.
So what happened exactly when cops came in? Were you afraid? Kya
Afraid?
Lathi
They're not
wati
going to shoot
leke
me in the head. What will they do? They'll charge some money. They'll write a case. What will they do? So I mean, there's never been a fear of the cops, of authorities in that way. It's just that it's a chaos at that point in time.
Right.
When you're running a show, there are 40 exhibitors.
And you're young. I mean, that's
young,
also there.
You've brought an artist on the stage. Somebody's playing a piano. Somebody's playing the guitar. The bar is selling alcohol. There's a fruit guy who came with 3 ladies of watermelon. He's like, I'm going to sell my juice. He took 3.5, all those 3 ladies back after 2 days. So it's just that you've planned it well, but you haven't planned for the audience.
Right.
Is what the blunder was.
My question to you, why I mentioned you being a young, entrepreneur is, sometimes what happens is people don't take you seriously. You say that, I'm 20, 21, 22 years old and I want to build this. This is my vision. Now the things have changed because 21-year-olds are like raising millions and millions of dollars, right? At that point in time when you were doing this, was that a concern for you? Did you come across people who said that, yaar, tu kya bhi to bachcha hai, abhi kya business karega?
I think that was very early on. When I started my first, not a cloud kitchen, takeout store called Beijing Street, 2015, my landlord, he told my parents, ye kya karega? I mean, what sort of a shop is he going to run here? I'm giving my shop on rent. I don't want my landlord to go off after, my tenant to go off after 6 months and say my business is not working. So, but yeah, I mean, you have a lot of such incidents throughout the journey where people don't believe you, people don't believe in you, and but you just have to manage yourself. You just keep moving forward. You don't. Some paths intersect, some don't, but all paths aren't meant to intersect.
Right. So now let's talk about COVID. COVID is one of the black swan events that changed the course of many companies in our country and abroad and worldwide, right? Your company also, your cloud kitchen setup was also affected. Tell us a little bit about how affected it was and how did you recuperate from that situation?
So we didn't recuperate. We actually evolved from that entire COVID phenomena. Early on, when COVID impacted us, immediately the lockdown was announced. We had to stop our cloud kitchens. The first wave was the worst since we had no clarity कि F&B exempted category में है कि नहीं. Second, third wave में तो exempted category में था. All our riders, all our crew members had passes. Business carried on. And second, third wave, retail, malls, everything was shut, but delivery was going on. So that was in fact a silver lining. But the first wave was very chaotic. And when it was chaotic, we had to shut business for a month. And for us, it is that if you're doing a certain revenue, you have 40 people on your payroll. At that time, all blue collars, you're supposed to pay salaries. And if 1 month there is no business, I was paying almost like 15-20 lakhs of expenses.
Wow.
So we burnt a lot of money in the first 2-3 months. But then we immediately got back to business. So our downtime was not more than about 45 days. And then we realized that this business is not scalable. And a lot of externalities, dependence on platforms, dependence on the entire space. So that's how we kind of evolved to the dark store journey.
Let's talk about the dark stores now. It was around 2020, 21. Pandemic was there. Swiggies of the world were saying that we'll present you genies. We'll present you Swiggy Instamart, Swiggy stores. And that somehow radically changed businesses, right? Overnight, people were changing their business models, supply chain transformations were happening, and you were in one of those supply chain market. How did you see that there is a gap that you can fill, right?
So our gap that we currently fill and wanted to fill back then was that quick commerce as a channel will always continue to exist, whether it's Instamart, Zepto, Blinkit, Ola Dash, or any of these, or even Dunzo, right? Where we wanted to kind of add value was that there are a lot of these D2C brands like Rage, like Epigamia, like Wowskin, like Mamaearth, like all of these brands who have a lot of demand on their own websites. We wanted to give a quick commerce-like experience to customers ordering from D2C websites, D2C brands, direct channels. And that's what we do till today. any D2C brand who wants to deliver to customers in the same day has to place products at our dark stores, and from where they're delivered to the nearest customers within 4, 8, 10, 12 kilometers.
Let's talk a little bit about dark stores, because that's
Sure.
something which is, it has come up very recently. A lot of people are not aware of what dark stores are and how they function and what exactly do they do. So what do you think makes dark stores special is one question, and what exactly happens and how it operates?
I think it's a fair concept of 4 walls with inventory kept within those 4 walls without any external branding, without customers having to even know where the dark store exists. And when an order comes, it hits the nearest dark store. The order, there's a pick list which comes out. The pick list goes to the picker goes to the respective aisle, shelf, rack. The order is picked, packed, kept ready for a rider to come and pick it up. The rider comes, picks it up, delivers it to the customer.
Right. All of this happens
In a few hours.
because of the tech that is there, that is enabling people to do this, correct?
Absolutely. It's the tech bundled with streamlined operations across all dark stores.
So, while you were setting up the dark store, what was the first dark store that you set up? Where was it? And, what was that experience like? Did you think that this is something that you can scale to proposition?
When I started my first dark store, it was empty for the first 2 months. Because you have to first start the dark store and then sell it to the brand. You can't start the dark store and then, or sell it to the brand and then say, okay, you want a dark store here, we'll give you a dark store here. You need to have ready infrastructure before selling infrastructure. So the first dark store was at Shahpur Jat in Delhi. And then now we have about 42 in Delhi. The nearest ones are Golf Course Road, DLF 1, and about 5, 6.
So you have 42 dark stores in Delhi itself.
NCR itself.
Delhi NCR itself.
Correct.
How do you go about it? Like, for example, if I have to start a dark store now, what are the kind of steps that I need to take? And how do you go about it? Like right now, I think a lot of people are also getting into opening dark stores, right? Because they also know that because of these apps, they also want to, get into the market of 10-minute deliveries.
Absolutely.
Zomato has said that I want to deliver food in 10 minutes. And that has just, made people go crazy.
Absolutely.
So what is that space like? How do I go about doing it?
I think you have to just find the cheapest rental. Factor in any dark store business is unit economics. You have to, for us, the challenge is always we have to match. Earlier brands were delivering the same products in 2 to 3 days. Now we're pushing and selling the brand to deliver the same products in the same day. We have to match the cost. If the earlier courier cost was 40 rupees per packet, say for example, even in Rage's example, if Rage was delivering a coffee to Bangalore, the courier charge of any of these FedEx, Blue Dart, Express deliveries, etc. was about 40 rupees per packet for a 3-day delivery. Now if I sell and if I tell a brand like his to be placed at my Bangalore dark store, my cost has to match his existing cost, which is 40 rupees. And for that cost to match, I have to focus on reducing rentals. I can't take a high street rental at an expensive rate. I have to go back in the area, go to a backside of a building, take a ground floor space and convert it into a dark store. So for us, hunting for the cheapest rentals is the most time consuming.
Was that the reason why it's called dark store? Because shady, dark buildings.
No, of course not. It's supposed to be a clean area. We have factors that we are only in commercial areas, ground floor, power backup, all of those factors. Dark stores, just because it's covered and standing outside, you can't figure out whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a dark store, whether it's a warehouse, whether it's a stockist. So,
you said that you help new brands build their networks, build their connections, build supply chain and solve the problem that is there for the brands. How do you go about do that? And the first brand that you interacted with or got in touch with, what was that story like? How did you convince them?
The first brand was Baskin-Robbins, and that was a key closure for us. It was all cold. I had written to the CEO of Baskin-Robbins on LinkedIn. He responded to me after 3 months. When he responded, we believed in the model. Till then, we were running Beijing Street, and we closed that customer. We shopped that around. We closed the next customer. We kept shopping our portfolio around, closing more and more customers.
Right. So again, going back to the kind of companies that you're serving now, the kind of companies that you have onboarded now, which has given you confidence that you can keep on increasing your dark stores? Tell us a little bit about the expansion that you have had. How did you go about doing it? What is the team size now, and how big has ZFW become? Why the name, by the way?
Earlier it was called Zippy Foodworks Private Limited when we were just cloud kitchens, and then when we went on to being a VC-backed company or investor-backed company, we had to move it into a slightly more professional name. So it remains the same entity, but it's called ZFW Hospitality Private Limited. And I think how we scaled was we raised the first round of capital last year, April. Very small check, a 70 lakh rupee check from, we had a US investor called Expert Dojo. They put in a $50,000 check. We had Mumbai Angels participate in the round alongside other angels. We used that capital to go from Delhi to Bombay, Bombay to Pune. Currently, we're at Delhi, Bombay, Pune. Our teams are expanding Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad. We raised 2 bridge rounds, and we've just closed a seed round of about approximately $1.5 million right now. And we're about to announce that. And this capital is going to take us from about 6 cities to about 15 cities by the end of the year.
Wow. So now ZFW will be present across 15 cities,
Yes,
helping
metros
brands to get in. So some of the big brands that you have worked with and are working right now to solve their problem, and how did you go about onboarding them in your journey?
I think the bigger brands are Baskin Robbins, Vadilal, Kevin Turs. We signed up with Artinchi, and that's the brand we scaled up as they were a seed company, and they're also now scaling up. We moved them to 3, and even a couple of brands that you would have seen at Shark Tank, and one of them is Getaway Ice Cream. So we very closely worked with Getaway before Shark Tank when they were just in Bombay. We moved them from Bombay to Delhi, and from Bombay to Pune, and now we're also doing South with all of these brands. If it's a 5-minute delivery or it's a 10-minute delivery, it's just that there is more concentration in the market. It's just like a panwala concept that every red light will have a panwala. So
right.
It's not that people are running or people are driving at 100 kilometers an hour to deliver an order in 10 minutes. It's just that there is more concentration in markets, and this is only the case in metros and mini metros. You won't find this 10-minute delivery across smaller markets.